he exists in Nibbana or elsewhere? It's a very big problem, isn't it? Now how to find out where he is hiding? Naturally, this question appears in our mind due to certain influence created by many other religions. Otherwise, as Buddhists, we cannot ask this question because the question is wrong. When we analyze from the Buddhist point of view, this question is wrong. But even then, we want to know. A man's inquisitive mind cannot satisfy until he gains something to depend on, if not to grasp according to his understanding capacity, if not to satisfy his needs. That means man is not interested on truth. He wants to gain something to satisfy his own needs or desire. Now, how this idea was originated? Now, let us refer to the ancient philosophy in India, before all the other religions come into existence. How they maintained this belief. I think there may be few who have read well-known Hindu religious books, which is known as Bhagavad Gita, just like Dhammapada. Beautiful sayings in Sanskrit. There is a saying or stanza in Sanskrit, Paritranaya sadhunam vinasaya ca duskritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. The saying of their God, Krishna. He says, Paritranaya sadhuna, to protect good people, righteous or cultured people. Vinasaya cha duskrita, to destroy wicked people who endanger the society. Dharma samsthapanarthaya, for the establishment of dharma or righteousness. Sambhavami yuge yuge, I appear from time to time. Now very easy to understand. That is what people need. The God says, He appears on this earth from time to time by taking different shape. The formations may differ from time to time. Then they elaborate how He appeared so far from the beginning of this earth up to this stage. That means there is an eternal God in this universe. So this belief was originated long ago. And that God creates some sort of physical body on this earth according to the environment or the situation of this world at that particular period. Then, Matsya, Kurmo, Varahascha, Narsinghocha, Vamana, Rama, Ramascha, Krishna, Buddha, Kalki. 10 incarnations. attributes. God has taken different forms from time to time and appeared on this earth. So after the formations of this earth, first time he appeared as Matsya, a fish. Now let us refer to anthropology. What Charles Darwin explained to us, the beginning of a life on this earth. He also started from amoeba, one cell, living beings that existed in the water. And this is the way how they have explained anthropology few thousand years ago. But they introduced this as a religious interpretation. The modern scientists do not refer all these things to religion. They believe if they depend on religion, they cannot find out the truth. They must work independently without depending on dogmas or belief or traditional ideas. So first life appeared on this earth as a fish. Later, second incarnation, Kurma. Kurma means tortoise. So God appeared on this earth as tortoise, turtle. Tortoise can live in the water as well as on the ground. That means same anthropology, the evolutions and the development of cells and what you call so many other life processes. The life which was originated in the water, after some times, and started to come to the earth and live on the land. That is the second incarnation of God. Third time, the God appeared as Varaha, pig. That means four-legged animal. So the pig is one of the ancient living beings on this earth. So that means the other four-legged animals appeared later, according to them. The development of this turtle into a pig, anthropology. Then, fourth time, God appeared on this earth as Nrsimha, Nara Singha. Nara means human, Singha means lion. Half human and half lion. Animal body, human head. Still, many people believe that there were some living beings on this earth. That is also evolution and the development. But religion says God appeared on this earth like this. That is the fourth incarnation of God. Fifth time, he appeared as Vamana. Vamana means dog, like a child, but well-developed physical body, but very short. The structure of the physical body is not yet developed. That is the fifth incarnation. After that, Matsya, Kurmo, Varahascha, Narasingho, Vamana. Rama. Rama is a well-known name in Indian philosophy, but there are two Ramas. Here we are referring to the first one. Well-developed physical body, the muscles and sinews and the structure is very strong. And he also used first time a weapon, an axe. That is the development of that life which was originated in the water and behave as human beings but not yet cultured or religious. When we were in the jungle during our primitive stage, we also behaved exactly like that. We do not know how many thousands of years ago. Then the sixth time the God appeared on this earth as Rama. Rama is very cultured, civilized, educated, religious-minded person. Many Hindus worship Rama. After that, Krishna. Now Krishna is more cultured, more religious-minded and philosophical-minded. And philosophy, psychology, and the development of the human mind we can see in Krishna. So today, Indians pay more attention and respect to Krishna, incarnation of God. And this Bhagavad Gita, Hindus believe, his utterance, all these advices, explanations, interpretations given by him. This particular book that I gave these two quotations also, you can find in that book. Originally written in Sanskrit, now available in various other languages also. After that, Matsya, Kurmo, Varahascha, Nrsimho, Vamana, Rama, Ramachya, Krishna, Buddha, ninth incarnation. Ninth incarnations of God, the Buddha. That means they have given due credit to the Buddha. And they accommodated him as among all the other incarnations that God has taken here on this earth, the Buddha had more wisdom, holiness, purity. The ninth incarnation. Then there will be another one, not yet appear. And he will be the last one. His name is given in the same stanza called Kalki. Kalki. And after that, slowly destructions take place. Here, the globe. And no more incarnation within this world cycle. There is a limited period for one world cycle. So by referring or depending on this belief and interpretation, all the other religions also try to interpret something similar to them. Christians, Muslims, Jews, and many others. But they have completely changed this belief and shortcut. Now Hindu says there will be another incarnations of God. That means still we can develop our hope. Christians also say, yes, second coming of Jesus. because his first visit could not fulfill. During that time he could not fulfill his mission. For the final touching, to release all these sufferings, living beings from this world, he appeared again. Buddhism also says something. So according to the Buddha, within this world cycle, that means from the beginning up to the end of this world cycle, because these world cycles or planets or galaxies are not permanent. There's a limited period, maybe millions or billions or trillions, but there will be an end. It is true. Then, the Buddhism says, from the very beginning up to this date, only 4 Buddhas appeared. But during the other world cycle, some other Buddha, sometimes only 1 or 2, 3 or 4, not more than that. Because Buddhas are very, very rare. But today we can produce any number of Buddhas. That is our production. But the real Buddhas are very, very rare. So every country tried to produce one Buddha. That is why they say Japanese Buddha, Tibetan Buddha, Korean Buddha, Indian Buddha, all sort of Chinese Buddha. And they also have different shape and different colors. It's quite natural. So, Kakusanda, Onagama, Kasyapa, Gautama. These are the 4 Buddhas appeared so far. Then another Buddha will appear in time to come. His name also given. What is his name? Maitreya or Metteyya. So Maitreya Buddha will appear. Then what is the period? We cannot calculate in terms of years. Such a long period. But he has given some sort of ideas for us to judge. Now, our way of life, our health, our religious way of life, our behavior, all these things are going on deteriorating, declining. It is true. So whatever method, religious people, government, or modern scientific methods, or any other kind of method, or medical facilities that we developed, introduced, it is impossible to change the man's mind. This is the nature of human mind. I have repeated this, I think, more than 100 times here, the same place, what Albert Einstein has said. He said, atomic energy could manage to change the whole world, shaken the whole world. But this atomic energy also cannot change the man's mind. Man is becoming more and more cruel, wicked, selfish and cunning. See what is happening all over the world. How human beings behave. Do they behave as human beings? They have religions, they have philosophy, psychology, modern science and technology, so many things. But the mentality, humane qualities, the virtues, righteous way of life, all these good qualities are declined. Can you imagine? 8 to 12 years old boys in certain countries have learned how to use machine guns, holding machine guns. It is a modern technique. Everybody must learn how to hold a gun. Otherwise, people have no place in the modern society. In time to come, each and every person must carry a gun or pistol for their security. Those days, we had some sort of imagination or dogmatic belief that devils or ghosts or God destroy this world. Now, we can understand that belief is wrong. If there is anybody in this world who can destroy this world, man is the one who destroys. He can do that within 1 second now. Then who is clever, devil or man? We regard this as development of the human mind. Yes, it is true. They developed this human mind with selfishness and cunningness. These two weapons completely abused, misused all the good things that they have discovered. This is enough for you to understand with the mankind. So in the Buddha's teaching, it is mentioned, this situation goes down and down and down and down, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Deterioration. No one can stop. This is natural. God also cannot stop. The Buddha also cannot stop. Then who is going to stop? God who created this world, all these living beings, according to their belief also, has become powerless to stop all this. Now what do they say? Today people are suffering because they go against the will of God. In that case, then what is the difficulty for God to change the situation? That we cannot understand. The Buddha says, this is the nature of existence. Whether we have a religion or not, whether we are educated or not, man's craving completely destroy everything. It is true. So we cannot stop this situation by praying or worshipping or performing rites and rituals and ceremonies and modern scientific methods. No effect. Very few understanding people, in spite of so many problems and difficulties and obstructions, still try to maintain some sort of principles or virtue. Try to be honest, harmless and kind. But in the eyes of others, these people are fools, mad. If there is anybody who wants to lead a pure religious life today, all the others say he's a crack fellow. That is the way how we measure virtues and the quality. A person who practices a lot of patience and tolerance and kindness is a stupid man. All the others come and bully him, he keep quiet like a buffalo. This is the way how we judge. So all the good qualities. In the same Indian philosophy, there is another saying, in time to come, Dharmo vanantrangata. Dharma has gone to the jungle. No more dharma here. Dharma has gone back to the jungle. Law of the jungle has come to the concrete jungle. Now we are following the law of the jungle, not the dharma. Where is honesty today? Can you find out a single human being on this world, on this earth, who is honest? Where is honesty? Where is kindness, compassion? All these words are only in the dictionary. If not in our religious book, just to preach. But not in the human mind. So man is so clever with his selfishness, he twisted, changed religions for man's own benefit and abused and polluted the purity of religion. That is why people say religion is trying to blindfold us, not to enlighten, keep us in the dark, without allowing us to understand things properly. So we cannot expect anything from religion according to some people, so-called rationalists, freethinkers, philosophers, scientists. They condemn. But there's nothing wrong with religion. Any religion. All are good religions. But man's selfishness, cunningness completely polluted the purity of religion. Those who handle as authorities, no purity in religion. Then some people think science can do some service to us. And they say science is inhuman. No consideration, no sympathetic feeling in science. Destruction, disaster can take place any moment. Then what are we going to do now? Then some others say politics is dirty. Nothing wrong with politics. Who says politics is bad? Then what is the purpose of politics? To maintain peace, justice, order, to protect us, to promote us, to provide many things for us. Now these are the duties of politics. Who can say politics is bad? But those so-called politicians all over the world completely abused their authorities with their selfishness and cunningness. Because they get the power, authority to abuse this very easily. Others have no such power. Because of that, people say politics is bad. Nothing wrong with politics. It's very good if you can really practice. This is the situation. So by considering this situation, the Buddha has said, no one can stop this. Slowly, 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 every day we are declining. Take for instance, many things that we have regarded as immoral when we were young, when we were children. Today, in the modern society, people regard them as social. The belief that these things are immoral is no more. This is the way how we deteriorate. Then physically, certain sicknesses that we have never heard in the human history. Today, you can hear, you can read in the newspaper, very peculiar type of sickness. What is the cause of this? Medical science is so advanced, but that science also cannot do anything. Our maximum lifespan during the Buddha's time, 2500 years ago, 120 years, average, maximum lifespan. Today, World Health Organization, according to their observations, they point out today gone down to 65. Average maximum lifespan. So, now you can understand physically, mentally, morally, spiritually, we are going down and down and down. So when this situation goes up to the maximum lifespan of 10 years, then there will be a disaster. After this disaster, few human beings remain on this earth. All the others kill each other. It's already started killing each other now, everywhere. One time bomb is enough to kill few thousand within 1 minute. Those days they have never discovered this thing. Then a 10 years old child they regard as grandfather or grandmother at that time. Maximum lifespan 10 years. And all those who observed this situation very carefully start to think very deeply. What happened to this world? Is it not due to our mistake? Having seen and considering very carefully, then they try to change their way of life. Very few. Then slowly again come up, just like temperatures. Do not know how many thousands of years it will take. When this maximum lifespan increase up to 80,000 years, this is the Buddha saying, 80,000 years, the next Buddha will appear. And now can you calculate in terms of years? The Maitreya Buddha appeared only at that time. And he will be the last one. No more Buddhas within this world cycle. Then worldly conditions, situations, environments, planetary system, friction, clashes, earthquake, volcanic eruption, flood and fire. Later, so many things. Then he says, three elements, three weapons, either together or one of them, is solely responsible for the destructions of the whole earth, not the whole universe. The whole universe never disappeared. There are so many universes, not only one universe. Thousands of suns and moons in the Buddha's teaching you can see. And galaxies. And there are living beings in many of those planets. So when certain section started to decay and decay and decay, another section is going on developing and developing and developing. This is the nature of the universe. This is natural. This is not act of God or anything else. No external sources. That is how universes exist. Then there are 4 periods. Sangvarta, Sangvartasthai, Vivarta, Vivartasthai. The destruction and the formation of this earth, only this particular earth. And the same situation take place in the other world's system also. Because all these existing universes are under the universal law of impermanence. No permanent, eternal, everlasting world system. Impossible. Otherwise no existence. People cannot understand this. Then what happens? Now this is the period that we experience the existence of this world. Yes, world exists. Start from here. Then after some times, not within few hundred or few thousand years, we experience that many things are fading away, deteriorating. It is natural. That is the second period. Decaying. Now scientifically, some scientists have noticed and analyzed. According to their observation, the deterioration has already started, but very slow. You know, in atom, there are 3 main energies: electron, neutron, proton. So atomic energy depends on these 3 energies. Scientists have noticed that one particular energy, which is called proton is slowly start fade away. When this particular energy starts to fade away, the other 2 energies also affected. Then slowly destruction takes place. Then problems, friction, elements cannot work together, no cooperation, imbalance, then clashes, elements and energies. Now there is some sort of balance. There is nobody to handle all these things. All these things are natural. Then destruction slowly takes place. Heat, cold, temperature changes take place. Already started. In many countries, sometimes during the winter they feel very hot. Suddenly during the summer they feel very cold. Man is responsible for these changes. Mental energy, mental way of thinking completely change the whole world. Then fire, flood, storm, volcanic eruptions, earthquake, sun. Some astronomers believe that the sun comes closer to this earth. Then slowly burns everything and increase the temperature. Some other scientists say, instead of coming closer to this earth, go far, higher and higher. Then the whole earth covered, snow. living thing can exist anymore. All these things are natural. In the Buddha's discourse, he mentioned all these things, but those days people did not believe. When scientists have discovered, they accept. He said either fire or gas or fluid completely destroy this earth, this world, in the Buddha's day. So after this thing, then complete destruction. That means no more earth here. Only the space, the same area, although this is moving. There is no more earth here, completely disappear. But not suddenly. Then one period, dark period. No more living beings here on this earth. No humans, no animals, no plants. Then the questions arise. What happened to all these living beings? Just now I told you, there are so many universes, there are so many planets where there are living beings. When the environment or the situation here on this earth is not favorable for life to exist, all these living beings, after their death, rebirth take place in one of those planets according to their own karma. Remember this. Never disappear. Impossible to disappear completely. So don't worry, you will get a place. Then, but that particular place where rebirth has taken place also, one day face the same problem. They are not permanent or everlasting. These are the things that many people cannot understand. Then what happened? Third period. All those dispersed particles, some people have given some names also, molecules and all sort of, they never disappear. Then due to the magnetic power, slowly started to accumulate. Don't know how many, in terms of years we cannot know, one can calculate. Then accumulations take place. After that, elements and energies develop completely. Then the formations of this earth slowly again take place. These are the formations. And this situation remained forever, not only once. That is why I mentioned, within one world cycle, start from here up to this, go one round and again come back. This is one world cycle. So within this period, or within this world cycle, 4 Buddhas appeared. Kakusanda, Konagama, Kasyapa, Gautama. The names were given. Again, the next Buddha, before the end of this, another Buddha will appear. So now you can understand, many religions talk about second coming, not the same person. This is another controversy. Now according to Hinduism, the same God appeared. According to Christianity, same Jesus come back. But according to Buddhism, not the same Buddha. Remember this. This is the place where we misinterpret. Not the same person, but another Buddha will appear. When that person has completed all his duties, perfection, knowledge and wisdom and qualities, then he attained the enlightenment. And that person is called the Buddha. This is the nature of Buddha. Only religion that which never talk about second coming of God is Islam. According to them, no more. In their list, I think they have more than 22 or 25, I cannot remember, prophets appeared from time to time. They say all those prophets could not fulfill their duties completely, although they have done some service. So the latest one was Jesus. They say Jesus also could not complete. That is why the Muhammad, prophet, God has chosen. And this is the last prophet. No more. If you miss this chance, you are at loss. No place for heaven for you. But Christianity says another chance. After that, no more hope. Buddhism and Hinduism says world system appear and disappear. The Buddhas appear and disappear. And reincarnations of God also appear and disappear. No end to it. Now we can see the difference now. Now our question is, where is the Buddha? I had to go a very big round to prepare your background in your mind to understand the nature, the existence of a Buddha. We can talk for a few days on the same subject. I told you, when my whole lifetime was not enough for me to complete all these questions. One day is not enough for one question. Then, who is the Buddha? By depending on all the other religions, as I mentioned just now, we also believe that there must be incarnations of God or incarnations of Buddha. We cannot give up that belief. By realizing this situation, 700 years after the passing away of the Buddha, when Mahayana schools come into existence, they have introduced this belief. I think in many parts of the world, Buddhism exists today because of this concept. Otherwise people do not accept because they cannot understand. And what is this belief? Now they say, the Buddha, Sakyamuni or Gautama the Buddha, he is exactly like reincarnations of God. There is an eternal Buddha in this universe. They have given the name also, Adi Buddha. Adi means very old. Adi, ancient. That means eternal. So the Buddhas who appear on this earth are not the real Buddhas. Shadow created by that eternal Buddha appear, exist, talk, walk, eat, sleep. After that, go back. Very easy to understand, isn't it? The same thing you can find in Hinduism. Reincarnations of God, after his mission, goes back to the same creator, Brahma, Mahabrahma. That is called union with Brahma. Hindu interpretation. Easy to understand. Christianity also say, when somebody dies, published in the newspaper, has gone to be with Lord. How nice. To be with Lord. Then stop crying. Why worry? He is with the Lord. To console these people, they use these sugar-coated words. So, again another school of Mahayana. Mahayana also got different school. Created 3 bodies of the Buddha. Not only one body. That means they wanted to create Buddha, introduce the Buddha as a busybody. Just like formerly the Buddha had only one face, today we have added 3 more. 4 face Buddha. So in the same manner, at the beginning the Buddha had only one body, and this school created two more bodies, so three bodies are there. Three kaya. But this is not a joke. It's very important, very interesting interpretation if we know how to analyze philosophically, doctrinally, not in gross form. Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya, Dharmakaya. These are the three bodies of the Buddha. Sambhogakaya means the physical body that he uses for eating, sleeping, talking, walking, for all these activities, the body that he uses is called Sambhogakaya, one body of the Buddha. Then another one is called Nirmanakaya. That is the extraordinary appearance of the Buddha for him to use his knowledge, wisdom, realization and explain the real nature of life and the world and the universe and the nature and the phenomena. But not the same body that he uses for eating, sleeping and for other activities. Then there is another body which is called Dharmakaya, doctrinal body. That means the essence of his dharma, the universal law, we use another word for that, universal law or cosmic law, whatever words we use, create another body of the Buddha. Three bodies are there. Then what happened? After his passing away, first two bodies disappeared. The body that he used for eating, sleeping, also no. And the body he used for preaching and creating ideas and advices, also no. But the doctrinal body never dies. That is eternal. That is called eternal body. So after his death, the dharma body of the Buddha remains forever. Now this is the interpretation. Then those who think that Buddha is no more here in this world, he is dead and gone, why should we worship and offer and respect? Can develop some hopes and confidence by considering, the Buddha dharma body exists. You can console them to maintain their devotions and confidence. So if they have, Mahayana school has not created this concept, I don't think the Buddhism exists in many parts of the world today. Because of this, they cling to this. Then let us analyze again how they developed this belief. In Anguttara Nikaya, Sutra Pitaka, the Buddha has mentioned the dharma that I revealed during my lifetime remains forever. Dharma never dies. No one can destroy dharma. This is the sayings of the Buddha. By taking these few words, they have narrated and framed up and introduced as dharma body of the Buddha. Another place. One of the disciples was admiring the beauties of the Buddha. Every day come and admire his beauties. Then the Buddha asked, what are you doing here? He said, Venerable Sir, pleasing to my eyes. Your complexion, features and appearance, and so serene and nice, wonderful. I really admire. There, the Buddha has given another advice. Yo dhammang passati, so mang passati. It's a beautiful saying. One who sees the Dhamma sees me. Me means Buddha. Again he says, Kinte Vakkali imina putikayana duggandhena sari. Vakkali. His name is Vakkali, the disciple. What do you gain by watching this dirty, filthy, smelly, impermanent physical body? What do you gain? The Buddha is not here. Don't regard this physical body as the Buddha. This is our wrong identification. That is why we need a person as the Buddha. We take this body as the Buddha. There were many discourses given by the Buddha, advising people not to depend on his physical body. Buddha is not here. What is Buddha? Buddha is not a name of a person. No personality cult. We cannot develop this. When we talk about the Buddha, don't think of a person. Buddha means the Buddhahood. Buddhahood means enlightenment. So the Buddha is the embodiment of all the great virtues and wisdom and qualities. This is called Buddha. When he was alive, certain people came and asked this question, whether the Buddha exists after his death or not. Now this is not a new question. He kept quiet. Because those who ask this question cannot understand. There are many questions that he did not answer because the questioners cannot understand. He kept quiet. Then the disciples came and asked, why? You did not give any answer to that question. Then he said, if I said yes, it is wrong. If I say no, also it is wrong. If I say yes, they create their own imagination. If I say no, again they create their own imagination. So the best thing is to keep quiet. And then he explained. Alright, now you want to know whether the Buddha exists after his death. Right. Then he analyzed. Now you refer this physical body, you regard this as Buddha, isn't it? Yes. Alright. What is this? This is the combinations of four elements and energies. Otherwise no physical body. So can you see the Buddha through these elements and energies in this body? No. Right. Now I have five senses. Can you see the Buddha by observing, investigating these five senses? They say no. I have five aggregates. Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. That means the combinations of elemental side and the mental side. Two groups of energies and elements. Combinations of these two groups create a visible figure. Humans, animals, living beings. When we separate all these things, you cannot find. So can you find the Buddha there? No. So he analyzed everything. The disciples had to say no. Then where is the Buddha? That means the Buddha does not appear even now while I am alive. Now you want to know the Buddha appeared or not after his death. So what a silly question. Can you understand this? That is the trouble with us. Just now I explained. Buddha means embodiments of all the great virtues and the qualities and the wisdom and knowledge and understanding. This is called Buddha. But there is no Buddha in this physical body. It will take long time for us to understand this. Our human mind is like that. Now we erect images. To us, that image is very important. The image for us to recall the Buddha into our mind. Otherwise, that image is not the real Buddha. But image is a symbol. That symbol supports us to recall the Buddha, to develop our confidence and gain inspirations. Therefore, it is very important. Then, again, the Buddha that you create by observing or having seen certain images is not the real Buddha. But by knowing the Dhamma, understanding what the Buddha taught, and how he behaved, what are the great qualities and virtues of this person, then what sort of wisdom he had, how he settled so many problems and calamities and difficulties and worries. When you consider all these things, you create the real Buddha in your mind. So that Buddha you create in your mind is more accurate than the Buddha that you go and worship. But to create that Buddha in your mind is not easy. You have to understand the Dhamma. To see the real nature of the Buddha. It is not necessary for us to depend on certain miracles or supernatural powers. All these are worldly phenomena. If we really want to know the nature of the Buddha, we have to approach directly through the Dhamma. There is no any other method. That is why he says, Yo Dhammang Passati, So Mang Passati. One who sees the Dharma can see, can understand who the Buddha is. Otherwise, you create the wrong Buddha in your mind. By using your human emotion. That is why we say, you know, my Buddha image is better than your Buddha. One aspect of Japanese Buddhism, Zen, concentrate only on meditation. They happen to see a Buddha image, they throw it. They don't want to keep any image. They say, by keeping an image, people develop their attachment. This attachment is a hindrance for the spiritual development. But don't take any hasty conclusion to go and throw away your Buddha image because you have not developed your understanding. Understand? Still you have to pay respect and according to your way of thinking, image is very important. But those who concentrate on for their spiritual development, there will be a certain period for them to realize that image is not so important. We should not depend on image. The Buddha also advised us, my duty is to tell you what to do. simply by worshipping me, offering or depending on me, you won't gain wisdom or enlightenment or purity. Impossible. Remember this. You can respect me as a master, but you have to work for your salvation if you really want it. Simply by worshipping to anybody in this world, in this universe, whether God or Buddha or anybody in this world, you won't gain wisdom and purity and salvation. You have to work for that. So don't wait and don't pray and worship until you gain your enlightenment and purity and salvation from another person. It will never happen. You have to work for that. Then, what are the duties you have to perform? Sila, Samadhi, Panya. This is the method. First, you must know how to observe your discipline. In your thoughts, in your words, in your action. There must be some sort of discipline. So when you observe this discipline, you cannot violate. You cannot hurt. You cannot disturb. Without doing that, you want to gain your salvation by praying. Then second stage, Samadhi. At the moment, so many disturbances, problems, worries and miseries and difficulties. So your minds are just like devil's workshop. By maintaining all these things, do you think you can find out your salvation by worshipping or praying? So, learn how to calm the mind. Reduce your tension and fear and suspicions and greed in your mind by knowing the nature of life, the nature of the world, nature of the pleasure, uncertainty of life, miseries in our life, uncertainty of worldly condition. Then you can cool your mind, calm your mind. After that, experience tranquility, peace. Then you gain wisdom, real wisdom, realization. Earlier, you could not gain this because your minds were completely clouded with all these problems and difficulties. When the mind is clear, then you can see things properly. Then you become unbiased, you become harmless, honest, and all the good qualities naturally appear, no need to struggle to develop them. Now you cannot develop them because of the hindrances and so much of craving and desire that you develop in your mind. This is the method introduced by the Buddha. Whatever other methods you adapt to gain this, you never experience it. So, in the end, let me refer to the sayings of the Buddha again. Tittante nibbute chapi same chitte samang phalam. Whether the Buddha appeared on this earth as persons, those devotees who develop their devotions, confidence, understanding, experience the good result. This saying is very important to us. So there is no reason for us to create some sort of frustrations or disappointments in your mind. Oh, Buddha is no more here in this world, and who is going to look after us, attend to us, bless us, and this and that. But here the Buddha says, whether they exist or not, if you develop your confidence and devotions and understanding, you too can experience the same good result. Take for example, when the Buddha was there in India 2500 years ago, very few people could understand what he preached. All the others just ignored. They might have seen him, met him, talked to him more than 100 and 1,000 times, but they were not benefited. Then what is the big idea of watching the Buddha, where he is and searching where he is? You won't gain anything. Unless you develop your devotions and confidence and understanding. This is the Buddha's attitude. The more we develop our understanding and devotion, the more we can experience. Only advantage is this. What is that? If Buddha is here, when he preaches, when he talks, he is the only one who can understand your understanding capacity. By surveying your previous experience, previous means previous life, not only within this lifetime. That is why many people have attained Arahanthood after listening few words from the Buddha, because he directly injects to the point. In our case, when we talk, just we beat about the bush, not knowing where the fellow is hiding there. The Buddha find out whether this person can understand. That is why sometimes he keeps quiet without answering the question. Again he find out his way of thinking, whether he is used to this way of life, even during his previous birth. How far he has developed his understanding. So by considering all these things, so directly he can pray. Even Arahanta or Pacceka Buddha also cannot do that. There are 6 special characteristics, and this is one of them. Now this is the advantage. I think 9:30, one question but not yet covered. See how many kind of wrong concept and belief and imaginations we maintain due to lack of understanding. So next Friday, I will touch upon on 2 questions. How can we prove the Buddha is the all-knowing one? Related to the same one, how did the Buddha realize or gain enlightenment without revelation or divine inspiration? These 2 things are related. So next Friday, I will discuss these 2 things. How can we prove the Buddha is the all-knowing one? That he knows everything in this world. How can we prove? If he knew everything, why he did not mention about the atom bomb? Then, the second one, how did the Buddha realize or gain enlightenment without any divine revelation or inspiration? These 2 things. Later we will cyclostyle this one and distribute. So when you go back, also you can discuss with others and listen to others how they explain. Okay? Okay. Transparent sound. Akāsattha Janummattha Devānāgā Mahiddhikā Puññantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakkhantu Loka Sāsanam Devo Vassatu Kālena Sassa Sampatti Tuca Pito Bhavatu Loko Ca Raja Bhavatu Dhammiko Idam Gojati Nam Hotu Sukita Hontu Ñātayo Imina Puñña Kammena Māme Bāla Samāgamo Satang Samāgamo Hontu Yāva Nibbāna Pattiya.